Hello, everybody. It's AJ from Psychological Warfare. I hope you're having a great day, and this is my first stream and video. Today, I want to talk about negative externalities, or externalities, and how they can usually become negative in a market. Now, an externality is something that is a consequence of economic activity that affects a third party. So, for instance, let's say you have an oil company and they decide to throw their sludge in the lake, and then that pollutes the lake, which a family swims in, and then the two kids who swim in that lake get cancer, and then the family has to put all their money into helping them with medical fees. The whole family goes bankrupt, and then both of those kids end up committing suicide, for instance. Not going to be too morbid, too mean to this family here. Keeping it, that's where we keep it light here on this channel in the first video. No, but you can see there's this chain of consequences from a certain decision from the top or from an economic decision. What I'm going to be focusing on and reading a book from Peter Joseph's The New Human Rights Movements is negative externalities, and how we do not take into account these things as much with our capitalistic system. All our system knows is profit. It simply knows, hey, did you make more profit? And anything else is offshored for that cause. And you can also be innovative with profit. You can also have, productive things, create a better car, create a better phone, create a better life. But what usually happens is, you maximize both ends. You maximize, the unethical side and the improvement side, and the ethical side. And that's what is important to understand, is people, I don't think, understand that that you're going to try to do both. So once you make a great phone, you're going to offshore your jobs to China to make even a greater profit. And that's what I want to talk about negative externalities. And I want to read you guys a clip from a book from the New Human Rights Movement. Now, the central point here is how these costs, both financial and in terms of real public health, unequivocally hurt the lower class. He's talking about negative externalities. We're going to switch to the next paragraph, as this one is the explanation of that point. For example, a 2015 economic report by the Independent International Monetary Fund put the external costs of fossil fuel alone at $5.3 trillion a year, 6.5% of global GDP. This report attempts to account for extended health and environmental costs associated with fossil fuel use on the side of the producer and the consumer, but not factored into its price. The Economist stated the fiscal implications are mammoth. At $5.3 trillion, energy subsidies exceed the estimated public health spending for the entire globe. Their general use of the term subsidies is not to be confused with the direct government subsidizing of fossil fuels, which is about $500 billion. So we subsidize oil companies, so they pollute our lake, and we just give them money on top of that, and that's all profit for them to not care about our environment even more because they have more money. Rather, it is about the collective costs, including systematic servicing, that have to be paid in general, distributed across the population. More dramatically, in a 2013 report on behalf of the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity program sponsored by the United Nations Environmental Program, it was found that, in effect, no major industries in the world could be considered profitable from the standpoint of external costs. In other words, if our core industries actually had to pay for fixing the external problems they create, they simply would not be profitable. The major profits gained are occurring without regard to the long-term destruction they are creating. So isn't that crazy? Is that since there's a focus on short-term gain, on the money, they can then offshore it to either a later date or on the environment or something that doesn't really know money. So the environment, animals, people mostly. So these externalities can be seen as pretty deadly and pretty cascading. He goes on to make an example that, let's say, a fossil fuel plant, again, decides to pollute a lake through some kind of, offshore drilling or fracking or somehow. Now, let's say there's a fishing company in that lake, and they decide to, and they're fishing, and they've been fishing for a long, long time, well before that fossil fuel giant came in. Now, everyone starts suing them because now they find mercury or that the fish they are serving are causing them sickness, causing them cancer, getting them sick. So they sue that company and they bankrupt that company because they were able to prove they were now producing poisonous fish. Well, now that that fishing company is bankrupt, the fishing company can't sue the fossil fuel company for polluting the lake in the first place. So the systemic problem is never fixed. And you can hoist up this ladder all the way up in that no matter what happens, all these externalities just get dumped on more poor industries and then more poor people in more desperate situations. And that's something to always think about in externalities is, are you doing something that you can actually afford to pay off? Because we've gotten to a point now where every major industry cannot be profitable when you actually have to pay for the environmental and human impact it has. Thanks, guys.